When you hear the word Bhutan, what comes to mind? For most of us, it's this picture-perfect mountain kingdom, right? The last Shangri-La, the place that famously came up with gross national happiness. But what if I told you there's another story? A book written by a former top government official paints a totally different and, frankly, terrifying picture. We're talking secret prisons, political persecution, and a type of torture that, well, it's going to challenge everything you think you know about this Himalayan nation. And this quote really hits the nail on the head. It casts a shadow over so-called Shangri-La. That's the perfect way to put it. It forces us to step back and question that perfect image we all have of Bhutan, and instead to really look at the shocking reality that the author, Tek Nath Rizal, says is hiding just beneath the surface. Right, so the big question is, how does a country famous for happiness become the backdrop for something so brutal? Well, the book claims it all started with simmering ethnic tensions, and then some new government policies that began to systematically single out a whole group of its own citizens. So you've got Bhutan's famous idea of gross national happiness. The author, Rizal, he doesn't just poke holes in it. He completely flips it on its head. He says that for a huge chunk of the population, the reality wasn't happiness at all. No, it was gross national sufferings. What a powerful and chilling contrast. Now, to really get why these claims are so explosive, you have to know who's making them. Tek Nath Rizal wasn't some dissident or a lifelong activist shouting from the outside. No, he was an insider, a high-ranking royal advisory counselor. This isn't a story from someone looking in. It's an account from a man who says he was targeted by the very same government he had sworn to serve. According to the book, things went south, and they went south fast. It all kicks off with these new policies aimed at the Lhotsampas ethnic group in the south. Rizal steps up, petitions the king on behalf of thousands of people, and he's told to back off. He says no. And just like that, in a matter of months, he goes from being a respected royal counselor to an anti-national, an enemy of the state. He's forced to flee, only to be arrested in Nepal and sent straight back to Bhutan. And that's when he says the real nightmare began. Okay, this is where the story takes a turn from a political drama into something straight out of a sci-fi thriller. Rizal claims what happened next wasn't your typical interrogation. It was something else entirely. A terrifying new kind of torture specifically designed not just to break his body, but to completely shatter his mind. The book gives it a name: electromagnetic mind control. And get this, the foreword, which is written by a military science expert, describes this unbelievable technique using modulated microwaves to literally create voices and implant thoughts inside someone's head. It's a shocking, almost unbelievable claim, and it's the absolute core of what Rizal says he went through. Rizal describes how it all began. He says it started with a noise, just a constant hissing sound, like a radio that's not tuned to any station, a sound that only he could hear. Just try to imagine that for a second. You're alone in a cell, in complete silence, and suddenly there's this sound, and it just doesn't stop. And then it got worse. On top of the sound, he describes a visual attack. He says it was like a sharp light, a beam like a hunting torch, that pierced right through his eyelids. So now you have this total sensory assault, right? A torment that you can't escape from because it's happening inside your own head. But according to the book, this device, whatever it was, went way beyond just noise and light. Rizal claims it was used to literally invade his mind and pull out information, to create the most terrifying hallucinations, to cause extreme physical pain. It could even mess with his basic senses, making his food smell and taste like feces. And maybe the most horrifying part? He says it could erase his memories, even the names of his own family. So on one hand, you have this alleged high-tech torture. But the book also lays out a more traditional kind of nightmare, his legal battle. Rizal says it wasn't a trial at all. It was a complete sham, an act designed from the very beginning to do one thing and one thing only: make sure he was found guilty. You see this symbol? It's the endless knot. In Bhutan, it's this beautiful symbol of harmony and how everything is connected. But for Rizal, locked away in solitary confinement for year after year, it became a kind of sick joke, a symbol of his own endless, inescapable cycle of pain. The book breaks down how his supposed trial was just a total mockery of justice. Step 1, he's locked up for over 2 years with no official charges. Step 2, they finally charge him using a law that was passed after he was arrested,
Can you believe that? And then, the final nail in the coffin, the judges in his case were the very same guys he'd been investigating for corruption before all this started. So what was the verdict? Of course, it was a life sentence.
And just when you think it can't get any worse, the book adds another absolutely chilling detail. Rizal claims that on 3 separate occasions things were just left in his cell. A razor blade, a rope, even exposed live wires. He doesn't think these were accidents. He believes they were put there on purpose to psychologically torture him, to push him over the edge. But here's the thing. This book, at its core, isn't just one man's tragic story. It's meant to be something bigger. It's framed as a dire warning to all of us, to the entire world, about the danger of secret weapons technology and the fact that we're not even talking about it. So that brings us to the big question, right? Why does this one-man story from a tiny remote kingdom actually matter to you and me? Well, the book's argument is that what supposedly happened to him isn't just a story about the past. It's a terrifying glimpse into a future that could impact every single one of us. To really drive this point home, the book's foreword brings in Albert Einstein. It quotes what he said about the atomic bomb and draws this really direct, really unsettling parallel. The idea is, just like the world woke up to the threat of nuclear weapons, we now have to wake up to a new kind of threat, one that's invisible and maybe even more dangerous.
And this is really the book's final stark warning. When the atomic bomb was created, it kicked off this huge, intense global debate. Everybody was talking about it. But with these alleged mind control weapons, there's been nothing, just silence. The book argues they've been developed for over 50 years in total secrecy, and the public has been completely cut out of the conversation about a technology that could change what it means to be human.
So, in the end, this book leaves us with some really tough questions. Questions about secrecy, about power, and about what our responsibility is as a society. You know, in an age where technology is advancing faster than ever, how do we, the public, make sure that these incredible new tools are used to help humanity and not, to control it?